Hey guys, Craig here with Geektech.ie, back with another video. Today we're taking a look at the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. This is Samsung's latest version of the Note series, and it has a lot of features that we want to get through. But this is a quick introduction to the video. You can check out the full review on Geektech.ie. This is kind of like just a quick overview on the design, the specs and performance, usability and features, including the S Pen. Quick run through on what the device has to offer and what it has changed over the Galaxy Note 3 from last year. But the first thing we're going to take a look at is the box and contents the device comes with. Then we're going to move over, look at some of the design features and see what has changed, and then talk about the specs, and then we're going to move over to performance, display, quality, camera, and then pretty much just a giant conclusion over using the device the last few weeks and seeing what it's like to use it as a day-to-day phone, and if it is a worthy upgrade over the Galaxy Note 3, and if it is Samsung's newest and greatest flagship device to reach the market. So let's check out the review and get this going. Okay, so this is the contents that come with the Galaxy Note 4. There is another thing inside which I'm going to show you now, but I just wanted to get the main aspects out here in the open. We have a large, or should I say long USB 2.0 cable, which is very nice to see because it's much longer than what we've seen with previous smartphones. And I'm going to actually pull it out here just to show you, because I was actually rather surprised about this. As you can see, it's fairly long, and that's a great addition to the smartphone. But moving on, we have the earphones, which is the same what we've seen before. They're in-ear buds. There's also replacement in-ear things, different sizes that you get inside the box. We'll show you now. Bit of manual literature stuff in the box. Just the basic stuff. Smart switch, yeah, just basic stuff. Then we have the fast charger, adaptive fast charge. This comes with two modes. One is 9 volts at 1.67 amps or 5 volts at 2 amps, which it goes along with the Samsung's fast charging ability for the Galaxy Note 4, which is rated at 50% in 30 minutes. And we'll talk about that more once we get the review going with the device itself. But this is the box. We are working with the N910F device, which is the Snapdragon series with LTE Category 6, but this is just a quick run through there. I'll zoom in so you can see the box better. If you just want to pause it and look closely at the specs of the box, that's pretty much it there. I'll pull that back out. I will open this up. It comes with the little thing on the cover, which I've already taken off. The other things that come in here are as I said before, the replacement earbuds of different sizes, and the replacement S Pen nibs, and the extractor tool for pulling them out. Pretty standard stuff there, like exactly like what we've seen before with the Galaxy Note 3. Nothing different with the box or the contents itself, bar the new adaptive faster charging thing that it comes with as well. That's pretty much it for the unboxing and the overview of the contents. Let's move over and take a look at the device itself. Okay, so this is the Galaxy Note 4 itself. The first thing we want to do right now in this section is to really talk about the design, the fact that Samsung have gone with a metal housing rather than plastic, which they've been doing for the last couple of years with their flagship devices. We saw this with the Samsung Galaxy Alpha, which we reviewed not too long ago, and it was the first phone big design change that we've seen from Samsung, and they have done the same here. And it's been known for quite some time, it's been rumoured for a long time that Samsung were going to go for a metal design with the Galaxy S5, but that just didn't happen, and now we're seeing it with the Galaxy Note 4, which further compounds the fact that we believe that the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, or personally I believe that this is now their official flagship device, and no longer is the Galaxy S series their flagship. And as such, technically you could consider them both flagship devices, but personally I see a little bit more effort put into the Note series, and that's why we're seeing this to be the first with a metal design. And in fairness, the Note series is more of a like a business orientated, getting things done rather than a fashion accessory. So when you see a stylish design like this, it really does speak words for Samsung, and the fact that they want to go with a decent a new design, something new, something different, and not just plastic as before. Now, in fairness, I've never really had any problem with plastic designs. In some cases, I think they can be better. But ever since using the HTC One M8, I just absolutely loved that design. That's like the best possible metal phone I've seen so far. It just feels great in your hand. Every aspect of its design is perfect, and I've gone as far as to say now is that just because you throw metal in the phone doesn't mean that it's going to be better. It doesn't work that way. You have to put effort into it, and it's clear that Samsung have put effort into this design. So we're just going to take a quick run around the aspects of here that Samsung have included here. And as you can see, we have the metal frame with chamfered edges. It's nice to see the black device here. This one specifically, with the black back and stuff, has a black side. I don't know if that's power coded or it's just something stuck on or not. I'm not sure how they did it, but we can see that we have the chamfered edges here, which are all silver, and that's pretty much like, I mean, it's all metal. They've got extra little nibs here on the corners, which if you've ever seen one of our UAG reviews, the covers, they always add extra thickness around the covers, and that's always a definitely good sign to see, because it adds a little bit of extra protection around corners with low impact points, which which can be a massive negative for when you drop a device. But again, every aspect of this corner, all of it here, is all completely metal. But the best part about the fact that Samsung have gone metal is not the metal itself, is the fact that they haven't removed the removable back cover or any cool feature of the removable battery or stuff. In fact, it is exactly like we had before, which I'll pull out here and I'll zoom out just so you can see it. Removable back cover, micro SD slot, nano SIM slot, or sorry, micro SIM slot, and full battery here. Absolutely no different. Again, cover here which can be exchanged for a wireless charging cover if you so choose. It would be nice to see that as an actual inclusion, like we've seen with some devices. They just include that as a standard. But again, I guess with Samsung, they think if we have a removable cover, why not go with a removable choice in the end. But anyhow, yeah, the metal design is definitely a step up for Samsung. It's nice to see them taking a design a little bit more seriously. It has been getting somewhat dull. I really did like the Galaxy Note 3 series, and it was definitely nice, but you could see that they were running out of things that they could do with the design, and adding metal is definitely a step up. And it's not, they didn't just throw this on it and go, okay, it's done, we've added metal, now what? They put a little bit of design into it, and it definitely rings true as a premium device. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the design aspect, I guess, because I mean the main idea here is that people were looking at it and going, oh, it's metal, that's new for Samsung at least, but we've seen it with other devices before. So I just want to give a quick run around the bottom sides and the top and stuff. As you can see here, they have moved back to USB 2.0 instead of USB 3. Some are considering that negative, but to be perfectly honest with you, I had the Galaxy Note 3 and I never really transferred files to and from my computer with a cable that much that it became a necessity to have USB 3 for data speeds and stuff. So it doesn't really bother me, and now we have fast charging with the USB 2.0, which is a definite improvement, but I'll talk about that more now in a minute. And then we have the S Pen here, which I'll pull out and just give you a quick look on. Nothing really new with its design. Again, it's pretty much what we've seen before. The Samsung logo. What's really changed for the S Pen though is on the display itself, which we'll talk about once we get around to it. But here we can see the two mics, and we can see little plastic nibs here. I guess you could call them little plastic shades. I'm guessing that's for antenna or sensors or something. They don't really explain that. But here at the top we have another noise cancelling microphone, 3.5mm jack. We can see the metal protrudes around it, comes out there, and then we have the infrared sensor, and you can see Qualcomm 4G because this is the Snapdragon version. Again, N910F, just in case people are wondering. But that's pretty much it for the design. Here we can see on the back the camera. We'll go through the specs now in a minute, but just to give you a look, we have the same kind of leathery feel but without the stitching on the side. The stitching was actually quite a nice addition to the Galaxy Note 3, but again, it kind of stems to the idea is that they had actually nothing more they could do with a plastic device, and they were just really trying to put something unique on it. But here we can see they've removed it because they've gone for a more uniform look. But again, and then we can see the LED flash heart rate sensor, and the 16 megapixel camera. And then down here at the bottom we have the speaker the mono speaker here at the back, which is different from the Note 3, which used to push out from the bottom. They now have it coming out from the back. But that's pretty much it. Again, I know I keep saying it, but volume button, power button, and then we have the volume rocker here, and you can see it kind of protrude out again here in the corner. But yeah, I just wanted to give as many run throughs there of the device so you can see it. The last thing I guess would be the 2.5D Gorilla Glass that we have. You can see the way it protrudes in a little bit. I'm guessing this is where the whole the gap here has stemmed from, is the fact that the glass protrudes in, which makes it look a little bit worse than it actually is. I haven't noticed any negative from having a gap here. I mean, no dirt or anything has really gotten in there or anything. And I do plan on putting a screen protector and a cover on this, regardless of the fact that it's metal. I still do things like that because, again, it is an expensive device, and a cover can be the difference between smashing it and it still working, I guess, if you drop it. But again, you can see the kind of 2.5D glass, which we saw with the Galaxy S3, but then Samsung quickly got rid of it with the Galaxy S4 a year later. We haven't seen it since, but it's made a comeback on the Galaxy Note 4. As you can see, it basically, the glass just protrudes down towards the inside of the device. I don't know why they went with it with this. I'm guessing they just wanted to do something different along with the metal design. And for anyone thinking that it was a requirement for the metal housing, it's not. The Galaxy Alpha doesn't have it. Perhaps maybe the larger display required it, but I just think they just went with it for the style of it, I guess. Maybe it's because there's so many iterations of the Note 4 and the Note 4 Edge coming out as well. They had to do something like this. I don't know, but it works for the device. It doesn't impact or anything like that. It's not a negative or a positive. It's just the fact that that's what it is now, and it works for the device. But that's pretty much it for the design. We have a large home button here with the fingerprint sensor right there, and then we have the front-facing camera and the sensors and earpiece here along with the logo. The lights here, as you can see, just for the last bit here, just so I can light them up. You can see the design kind of goes through it, if it would stay on for long enough. The design of the device actually goes through the notification LED and the buttons, the capacitive buttons, the back and menu button. You can see that's pretty much the design thing right there. The white one, I haven't actually had a look at it personally, but I'm thinking that's just all completely white, or it has the same lines as well. But again, that's the Galaxy Note 4 design. It's definitely appreciated that Samsung have gone with a metal housing rather than continue with plastic. It definitely makes it feel much more solid. It is heavier in the hand, but it is definitely a more solid piece of machinery, and it gives the sense of a much stronger phone. I can't say for certain that it'll actually last. Drop will, I guess durability is increased from it, but I'm guessing it is, since it is metal. In some cases, plastic can definitely take advantage over metal when it comes to drops, but this one feels really strong, and they've added the extra metal around the edges here, so I'm hoping that has an impact. But there's probably tons of drop tests and stuff like that people do, and that you can see online to see whether or not the Galaxy Note 4 is a step up from the Galaxy Note 3. But again, that's a very environmental and, I mean, very, I guess, in the moment experience, whether or not the particular drop you've had would have shattered it, and whether or not the metal will have a negative or positive effect overall. But again, that's the design. Let's move over and talk about the specs of the Galaxy Note 4, and talk about after using it the last while and seeing if it is a worthy upgrade, and whether or not we think Samsung have gone in the right direction. Okay, now it's time to take a look, talk about the specs of the device. I don't know why that came up. But yeah, okay, so the specs on the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, it's running Android 4.4, but it will get obviously an upgrade to Android 5.0. It has a 5.7 inch display, so the display size hasn't increased or decreased from the Galaxy Note 3, but now we have a resolution of 2560 from 1440, which equates to a 550 pixels per inch on the display itself. Yeah, so I'm basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk about a specific spec, and then talk about whether or not it's an improvement or disimprovement, or what it basically just talk about it itself. The display is amazing. It's definitely one of Samsung's best, if not their best. I remember the Galaxy S5 had an amazing display, and I loved how every bit of colour and sharpness, detail and all of it was just perfect. The brightness and all was great. This one's better. It's just, there's no two ways about it. This is the best display Samsung have released. Personally, I haven't seen a display this good. But I mean, just for a little background though, I mean it's 2560 by 1440. That's an extreme resolution. I mean that we're barely, we don't, like, I mean monitors are only seeing that now, like, well, not only now, but they've been seeing it for a while, and we're only seeing the adoption of this, and 4K in the home is still far out, but we're seeing it on smartphones, the adoption of higher resolutions much quicker. Now, the argument of a higher resolution is better it's a little difficult. I mean, 300, the human eye can't see 300 dpi at a certain distance, it can't see more, but in this case it doesn't matter, because the more pixels they get here, the sharper everything can look. Is the fact is that now you cannot see the pixels, the individual pixels at all. I mean, that's been the case for a while now, but the negative, the reason why I always hold judgment on the increase in resolution is because we always see the decrease in overall quality, is because I guess the rush to get more pixels on the display itself can equate to sacrificing color quality and stuff. And I mean, I saw it with the LG G3. I saw the increase in the detail was definitely there with content of that caliber, of that pixel count. It was definitely better, but that content is not readily available. You don't see 2K content at all, really. I mean, we have 4K content, but we're barely getting 720p or 1080p content readily available on smartphones, and it was a shame to see that their quality had dipped a certain amount. The screen quality was great, but not enough to warrant it over the 1080p display, and in some cases it was even worse with viewing angles. Galaxy Note 4, not the case whatsoever. I mean, quality wise, I have a gameplay video you can check out so you can get a somewhat of a look, but again, with anything display wise and preferential and personal and stuff like that, you really need to see it to believe it, kind of thing. I can't replicate the quality of this display through a camera and then through YouTube and then through your monitor. You're not really going to see it, but it is absolutely amazing. The color is great, the detail is great, the sharpness is great. There's no loss in quality compared to the Note 3, which had a lower 1080p display because of the increased resolution. So this is definitely a step up for Samsung. They nailed it with this. I mean, the display is just perfect. I mean, to be honest with you, I just cannot see any display beating this one right now, personally. That being said, there's not a lot of 2K content. The device itself does record in 2K for the front-facing camera and obviously 4K with the back-facing camera, but they do have a 2K option for the rear-facing camera as well, should you choose to record in 2K for this device, basically, so you have native content for your device. I mean, recording 4K is kind of pointless if you don't have a 4K TV. You're not really going to get a benefit from it, but recording 2K is definitely a plus for this device and other devices that are also using 2K displays, and now 2K monitors again are becoming more and more mainstream as such. So I mean, basically the display is excellent. Samsung have put a lot of effort into making sure that their color and stuff didn't get, some colors are obviously going to be oversaturated, but it works for it in the senses that they look great and they stand out on a display of this quality. And I mean, the adaptive mode or the dynamic aspect of the display, it changes for different content and stuff. It works in just every aspect. I haven't looked at something on this high resolution content and gone, that looks crap. Everything I've looked at on this, regardless of the content, has looked amazing, and that's pretty much the best way to put this display. It's the best from Samsung so far and one of the best we've seen on the market, hands down. But yeah, that's the display. The main other aspect is performance. We have the latest from Qualcomm, which is in this particular device is the Snapdragon 805 chipset with quad-core 2.7 gigahertz Crate 450 and Adreno 420 GPU with 3 gigabytes of RAM. I'm just going to run a quick Geekbench 3 just so you can see the quality. I will make sure nothing else is running here just so it's nice and smooth. We'll let that run there, and we'll talk about the other specs of the device. Okay, so we have 32 gigabytes of storage inside with a micro SD slot for up to 128 gigabyte addition. We have a 16 megapixel optical image stabilizing camera with 4K support at 30 frames per second at 1080p, at 60 frames per second at 720p at 120 frames per second. We have a front-facing 3.7 megapixel camera which supports 2K video. You can record at 2K. Dimensions, it's 53.5 or 153.5 millimeters long, 78.6, or sorry, yeah, 78.6 millimeters wide, and then 8.5 millimeters thick. So it is a little thicker than the previous Galaxy Note 3, and the weight is 176 grams. Okay, that's just finished there. So just to quickly talk about that. 1,110 on the single score, single core score, and then 3,253 in the multi-core score. Two of the highest results we've seen. I mean, Exynos version of this will definitely get higher on the multi-core because it's got more cores to play with, I guess you could say. But the single core is definitely up there with the top devices. Again, graphics performance on this is also up. So you can check out the performance from Antutu, Geekbench, 3D Mark, and Velamo. I think that's how you pronounce it, Velamo. Velamo, however you pronounce it, and you can check out those benchmarks on the full review, just if you want to see the actual performance. And then we do the gameplay video itself, where you can see much better kind of real world performance for games, which will take pretty much every aspect of the performance that they can give it and turn that into actual things that you will use. So yeah, so other specs, we have the fingerprint reader here, fingerprint sensor, heartbeat sensor here is on the back, like we talked about before, along with the LED flash, and then that also acts as a oxygen saturation in your bloodstream, and then a UV sensor as well. There's a lot of health aspects of this device that Samsung are including, along with the S Help app. I mean, they're great if you're going to take advantage of them, but some people, I guess, just won't, or they'll go with more personalized things rather than their smartphone. Because again, I mean, I can't imagine anyone who's going to go running or jogging with something like this in their pocket. So I mean, in that regard, I can't imagine this will be used as much as Samsung have hoped for in terms of healthness or fitness or anything like that. But it could be a benefit to those who do bring it with them to the gym or something like that. It might be a handy feature that way. But I guess they didn't want to remove it just because they didn't think it was going to be a valid feature. They thought, why not add it along with their other smartphones? But yeah, so the camera on this is one thing we want to talk about. It's again one of Samsung's best. It includes optical image stabilization, which is a definite benefit. You can see the videos and stuff that we've done and the images on the site, and you can get a kind of opinion for yourself. I know YouTube is going to have a kind of a negative effect on the quality, so you're not going to get the full-on quality. But I think in terms of sharing videos and such, unless you're watching the original video, that's always going to be the case. But again, the 1080p, 4K content, and 2K content has all been absolutely fantastic. Now, all of that is all compounded by the display on this, is because it's so good. All those videos look even better. And if you're watching it on I'm not going to say a crappy monitor, but if you're watching it on something as less desirable as something like this display, of course, it's not going to look as good. But that being said, quality-wise, from watching it on this and watching it on another IPS monitor, it's definitely an improvement of the Galaxy Note 3 series, which was, I mean, it's over a year's gone by since that phone out, so any improvement is an improvement. But this is a massive step up. The Galaxy S5 featured, I'm not going to say the exact same camera, but it was the same set of features, I guess. They had the really quick autofocus, and it was a 16 megapixel shooter. So I'm guessing they've gone and improved upon that, because it's definitely a step up on this device as well. The camera app is pretty much the same layout that we've seen before, which I'll just give you a quick run through here. I'll just change its orientation, as you can see here. So the only downside actually I wanted to point out with the camera app, and this is something rather shocking, is that you can't turn off burst mode. And that just seems like a complete, I mean, it just doesn't even make any sense. If you hold a button, no matter what, now it says that it can't take them when it's in auto night detection, which I guess if it's fairly dark out, but if I bring it up like this, I'll just see if you can see it there. Now, the reason why I would turn off burst mode myself is because I like to be able to hold the button to make it force focus and make sure that shot is in focus. But now I have to tap on it, which is selective focus in a specific area rather than actual full-on focus of the entire area. So I guess I'm guessing they'll fix it in the future, because it is kind of a downside to not be able to turn off that kind of feature, because burst mode is very much something you'd want to use personally. You don't always want to be able to take 30 shots every second. Like, you'd rather just be able to you know, if you're taking a shot of a scenery and stuff like that, you don't want, it's not, I mean, not every photo I take is going to be requiring that kind of ability. So, I mean, but this is pretty much the layout here. I'll give you the quick run through of the settings. Again, 16 megapixel shots. And then here's the video options. We have 4K, 2K, and then 1080p, and then HD, and then VGA. There's a few specialty items, I guess you could say. In this sense, we have recording mode. So we have normal, limit for MMS slow motion, which is 120 frames per second, which you then have actual different options for how actual fast you want it to play back. And then fast motion, which is effectively time lapse, and then smooth motion, which is 60 frames per second, which I think I've done a video on the 60 frames. If not, I will, because YouTube now supports the 60 frames per second mode. So I will get a video of 60 frames per second up, so you can get an idea of the smoothness that it has. HDR has now, over the Note 3, again, we saw it with the Galaxy S5, it has an option here at the forefront. It's no longer a separate mode, to which there are a few here that you can see. I've actually added a few here that weren't actually added from the beginning. So we have animated photo, surround shot, dual camera, virtual tour, panorama, selective focus, which just takes multiple images of different focus lengths, and you can pick which one you want to use. Rear cam, selfie shot, and more, beauty face and auto. Again, things we've seen before from Samsung's previous devices. Nothing really new there. The camera layout and all as such is the exact same. The main aspect is though is that taking pictures and focusing is actually rather quick now. And there's a step up, but quality wise it's definitely an improvement. It's one of the best you've seen from Samsung, and one of the best that are available. Low light performance isn't the best, but it is not in any way negative. It's actually much better than from the Galaxy S5 or the Galaxy Note 3, but I think that's because it stems from the auto night detection. As you saw there a second ago, it turns that on its own. That's not an actual, like, I think you can turn it off, but it now activates that when it needs to if it detects that the lighting isn't the best. And it is definitely, it's a pretty cool improvement, because low night shots are actually pretty decent on this. I don't really do low night photography, for the sense that it's very specific how much light you have, and it's a very hard thing to kind of do a comparison again for photos and stuff, and it's very environmental. That's why I aim to do all the photos I do in the same area, in the same time of the day, and hopefully it's a clear sky. But since I live in Ireland, it's very hard to get that kind of guarantee that I'll always be able to do it. In fact, it's been raining the last few days, and I haven't been able to do it with the Xperia Z3 or anything like that. So again, that's pretty much the camera side of it. Front-facing camera, I guess, is give or take. I mean, I don't think people put too much effort into it, but Samsung did include a panoramic selfie mode, and the fact that you can move the camera like this while you're taking a panoramic shot with a front-facing camera, and you can include everyone. It also changes the ratio to a 16:9, which makes it a little bit more easier to see, and a little bit better overall. But yeah, that's pretty much, I guess, because you'd be holding the phone that way. But that's pretty much for the camera side. Performance, again, you saw it there a second ago. It's definitely one of the top performing devices out there. I mean, it's not screaming a jump ahead of anything else than the previous Snapdragon 800 chipset that we saw on the Galaxy Note 3, and pretty much every device since. Well, most devices anyway. But Samsung have different iterations of this device available, so it's kind of, I mean, it's a little iffy that they're not putting focus on the performance of it, because they've got so many different iterations with the Exynos version as well. So I guess the best way to is, I can't guarantee that your performance will be this if you end up getting the Exynos version, but what I can tell you is that both will be flagship performance. You won't run into any issues performance wise. There's a few things. The last thing we want to talk about beforehand is the S Pen. Okay, so there has been some improvements here to this and the multitasking aspect of the device. So this is the S Pen here. Samsung have introduced 2048, so 2048 pressure sensitivities in the display here. So what I'll just do is I'll jump onto this, and you can see it is far more sensitive, and it's much more pen-like behavior than before. Forgive my terrible writing, but yeah, I mean, it's a massive improvement over the last time, and the pen itself comes out enough, and you can actually use it at an angle rather than before, where you could pretty much, you had to use it dead on. As you can see here, I'm pretty much going like right there. So I mean that's pretty steep angle right there, as you can see, over before, which it was just pretty much there was just no chance. You'd have to be pretty much head on, but you can actually use it as much as you want as a pen. Again though, I mean I think the S Pen side of things, I don't think anyone buys the Note 4 for that function. It's handy thing to have, really handy when you need to sign something or you're doing something that, I mean, can be done better with a pen. There is a few extra features in there, such as holding the button and highlighting text like you would do with a mouse. So it's kind of a benefit, like they've implemented it that way. Previously though, the pen window was a feature that required the S Pen to draw the window, which I don't know why, because it would pretty much always be the same size. But you would draw the window and then you would have a kind of like a pop-up window. But now this is actually pretty cool. This can be done differently now. Once you activate multi-window, you can simply drag from the top left of an app, or the top right I should say, and you can just make it a little window like that. So I mean the multitasking aspect of this has definitely stepped up compared to it. In fact, I can even do it with the camera. I don't know if I can make it smaller. Actually I can. I wasn't sure if I can make it smaller with the camera app itself, but you can there, and you can see the camera app is actually running while in pen window, and I have this right here, and I can click on either one, moving back and forth. Another feature is though, you can just make that little bubble, so you can leave that there, and you can do that same with the camera. Just make it a tiny little bubble and it'll float around, and you can just quickly open it up again if you need to get back to it, and then you can make it full screen and you can go back down to pen window. This is pretty massive step of multitasking, and it works really, really well. I don't know if people are going to take advantage of it, but things like Chrome, the camera, I don't know if Skype is in there, but there's a lot of apps that I can see people taking advantage of that will have it, that will use it a lot. You can bring up the multitasking menu here, and there's two other ways you can go about it. Again, I'll just actually exit that, bring up this. If you tap it, it'll bring an open pop-up window, or if you hold it down and drag it, okay, sorry, the camera only supports pop-up window, not dual view, but I'll quickly show you that again. If you bring up this here, I know it's MX Player Pros there, so their developers can add support for their apps, and they can be added to the list of things that actually support it. But again, if I hold here and I drag, it'll open the app as you would any, but then you can scroll down the list, and I can drag another one, and that's how you get dual window that way. But you can also go dual window this way by clicking on that, and I'll bring up a quick list of apps that you can launch alongside that one, which is, again, it's the same thing that we saw there a second ago, and you can bring up that list of apps again this way, and you can change the sizes, and you can copy content between them, kind of like what we've done before. So you move content between the windows. I don't really need to do that, but again, I mean it's an evolution of the previous form of multitasking that we saw with the Galaxy Note 3, and they've definitely stepped it up a notch here. And they've kind of removed the dependence of the S Pen itself to do these kind of features, which kind of states that they're going to be adding these kind of things to like the Galaxy S5 and stuff, and different devices to take advantage of them. But with the larger display in the Galaxy Note 4, it definitely takes advantage of having that extra screen size for, you know, making the content a little bit easier to read and stuff. I don't know if people are going to be taking advantage of them, but again, you can see how quick and easy it is to bring stuff up. I like the idea of this with a browser, a calculator and stuff. You can have that running right next to each other, and you can be browsing a web page here while having something here, and quickly switch between the two of them. I know you can do that with a quick view, with the menu button and stuff, and you can switch between the two of them, have them in full screen. But there is that sense of, I mean, being able to quickly do it with two apps simultaneously, and not having to worry about, you know, will it close down or something like that, I guess. It's very much kind of a thing that you're only, if you're going to take advantage of it, you'll get great advantage of it only if you need to. The only negative, I guess, is that it's limited to certain apps. It would be great if we saw more general support for it, and pretty much any app could take advantage of it, which we saw with the Galaxy Note 3. There was a mod, if you root with your device, you can actually pretty much add every single app to the pop-up menu and to the dual window feature and stuff. And I mean, I never really ran into issues. I did it myself, never ran into issues, and it was a great advantage. I had Skype and stuff on, but there was some apps that, like, I mean, sort of like Skype, but in most cases Skype worked fine, but there was some apps where just they did not accept the resize, I guess. and they just didn't run perfectly enough. But it would be still nice to be able to, just a quick disclaimer saying, you know, this might not work great, but it might work, you know, and that would be a nice thing to see. But that's pretty much it for the Galaxy Note 4, and we've talked about pretty much all the new aspects of it, and we definitely think it's a great upgrade to the Note 3. But only if you feel like a better display, better camera, and better performance are things that you would want. The software features of it will eventually find their ways to the Galaxy Note 3. You'll definitely see these, like we've seen before. These will definitely, they probably already are, for the fact that people with mod support and stuff and custom ROMs. But I mean, if it's just the software side of things, I mean, that's pretty much a question of when, not if. But hardware-wise, this is definitely a solid piece of smartphone, I guess to say it. Samsung have gone with a nice metal design. They've gone with great performance, great features. Display is great, camera's great. There's nothing really negative to say about the Note 4 other than, I mean, a big device is not everyone's cup of tea, and that's really something that everyone has to decide for themselves. But definitely, we think this is one of the best smartphones released from Samsung and one of the best smartphones on the market currently. And it's a great upgrade over the Note 3. It's not, you know, like in just a simple iteration. They have put some effort into the design, the performance, and the features, the software features and stuff. I mean, they have thought about different things. But definitely check out the full review, and you can get a kind of a better glimpse at everything that the Galaxy Note 4 has to offer, and a better breakdown. Check out the images, and we have the gameplay video as well if you wish to check that out. But that's pretty much it for our Galaxy Note 4 overview / review / whatever this was. We hope you check out our other videos and reviews on Geektech.ie, and hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks.